I was expecting that Gen G were going to win, and that means that we've set the stage for some upsets. And let's see whether FlyQuest can do the same thing as we get into the draft here. And the Cassiopeia ban, I absolutely love it. Of course, Quad, a known Cassiopeia enjoyer, and he thought that, you know, his name was Sulker when he was mainly playing it, thought he could hide behind that one. It never is going to escape. So really cool that they do at least ban that one away.
Turns out that coaches do, in fact, do their research. Quad, most recently, he spent a lot of time playing in the North American Challengers League, formerly known as Academy. He had so many good games on that. We haven't necessarily seen it come out all that much in the LCS so far, but this is definitely a player to be watching out for. They recently decided that they were going to have much more success with Quad than with Jensen, and so far, this FlyQuest squad has only dropped anything to Team Liquid.
Well, we'll just have to see how it is going to go. The Rumble ban, obligatory, and when that gets through, it tends to win games. And our first Skarner could be coming out here. But no, I think the Corki would make a fair bit more sense. Tristana up and available as well, as the immediate hover of the Kaiser does come in. Interesting. We have seen, of course, incredible amounts of priority on this Corki. Of course, Quad has been one to play a lot of it as well. And I feel like in these first few weeks of the summer season after MSI, every mid laner has played like 3 champions. And Caps is different. He's played 4.
Oh my gosh, and whole extra champions at the 33% increase. The big thing that I was looking at for this tournament was, okay, everybody's gonna be playing Corki. What do people play when they can't play Corki? For Quad, that has almost entirely been the Tristana. He's gotten 4 games on that and only 1 other game on an Aurelion Soul, and so it's not a surprise that this one is coming out right off the bat. And this creates another opportunity for both these squads to really showcase what they want to do relatively early on. Lucio going for this Leona does mean that you have a lot of engage tools that we have seen have so much success earlier, and it really pushes out things like the Nautilus, which has already been banned.
Yep, loving the Anivia hover. We'll see what actually does come through here. There are so many different schools of thought when you have like these 80 mid lanes. I know it's a little bit boring. We're seeing Tristana versus Corki all the time, but it is going to be a little bit of that Freljordian vibe. And we did see into the Leona, the Braum did very, very well. And this is another thing. I was actually thinking that on the other side for FlyQuest, that this Ivern could actually do a fair bit of work, but instead, G2 are going to jump in there and take that one away. The Brand jungle to come out from Inspired. And I feel like this is Inspired's bread and butter, right? He's just been carrying from the jungle all season long.
That said, I'm very surprised that the brand is coming out now, right? Because the brand already has a couple of champions on the other side of G2 that it's going to kind of struggle into. The big one is the fact that Braum has that Unbreakable. You have to be very careful that you do not use the brand ultimate before Braum has used that, because simply you lose so much of the efficacy of that ultimate whenever you try and go for that at the same time. We've also seen what can happen when Ivern is just making sure that all the poke champions are not going to be able to do anything in these fights. It completely shut down what Gen G was trying to do, and I feel as though Inspired will have some opportunities to blow it up. You don't need to have vision if you're just going to be throwing skill shots into brushes, but you do need to see what you're shooting at.
It's very true. However, I do have a counterpoint.
Counterpoint?
Brand is fire, and Ivern's a tree.
That is true. We have been
seeing that's just naturally counterpick, right?
That's a very good point. What about Ice type? I know you're way more up to date on this than I am.
I mean, Fire's pretty good into that as well, as it turns out. And we do have, you know, the very physically accurate representation of that in Pokemon that we've all played. The Kog'Maw and the Ashe both banned away. Of course, Kog'Maw a little bit of Hansama flavor. Does mean that there is his most dangerous champion left up and available in the Draven if you would like to pick it, but we'll see exactly what is going to be locked away here. Could be a dangerous option with that Leona already being threatened. The Renekton being banned away here by G2 as well. So Bwipo's pull a little bit thin, but we know that Bwipo plays basically everything. And the Ezreal Leona lane to be considered here for Masu and Busio. Busio, of course, having a little bit of a rougher time this season, but I'm expecting that they should be able to bounce back. It's a great opportunity for a reset here at EWC. And expectations seem to be a little bit of a problem here, as Hansama is just going to lock away the Caitlyn.
And the Caitlyn coming through, I really like this. Traditionally, we have seen that Ezreal and Caitlyn tend to be strong at similar times throughout the history of the meta, and this is a great opportunity for Hansama to create a lot of pressure. Both these AD carries are very self-sufficient, and both supports very capable of roaming. And we know that Mickey X loves to move out of the lane as early as possible. We also get the Gragas as the last pick coming through for Broken Blade here. A bit of an unsurprising blind pick, right? You get that extra magic damage, you have great tools, you have good disengage, and just as we saw from Top Esports earlier, there's a ton of disengage. There's so much burst if anyone tries to jump in, and Whippo actually going to be bringing in the first Skarner of the Esports World Cup.
Yeah, I find the Gragas to be really dangerous when you can set up all these brushes. I also love the headshot synergy by being able to create all of these brushes. Just sad that there's no Rengar for the true Ivern synergistic pick, but that you can't have everything, right?
Have everything that you want. It's ultimately not solo queue where you have the Rengar coming through. As fun as that will be, I'm really excited to see how this Skarner is going to be performing. Every team so far has pretty much dropped it entirely. It lost a lot of damage. It is mostly just relegated to being a strong tank, but this is kind of a similar thing to what we were seeing in our previous series as well. A lot of damage and a lot of beefcakes coming out for FlyQuest.
Exactly right, and they've got damage for days, right? Brand, Tristana, and Ezreal, all of them going to do phenomenal work as far as that DPS is concerned. So you can have a few beefcakes there just to augment it. I do really like G2's composition for the way that it synergizes together, though. You know, you create all of these brushes, you set up the Caitlyn firing from exceptionally long range, with then Caps able to throw out those rockets and really provide that poke required. I think G2 Esports have a very, very solid game plan in mind with this composition, and FlyQuest are going to have to do their very best to dismantle that as we get ready to jump onto the Rift here for game number 1.
I think looking at this draft in particular, the player that I kind of want to highlight for FlyQuest that is going to have a difficult time and is going to need to step up is this rookie, Masu. Masu has been a player who we have prided as a new rookie who has kind of been following the footsteps of so many other players, where he has still opportunities to improve the laning phase, but has been so clutch later on the team fights. But in this one, he's going to be outranged by Core 3 Rockets. He's going to be outranged by the Caitlyn. He's also going to have to deal with the fact that there's a Gragas and an Ivern constantly preventing him from doing the damage to the targets that he wants to. And there's going to be an opportunity for Masu to showcase that he has what it takes to play on the international stage.
Very much looking forward to it, but let's get onto the Rift here for game number 1. G2 Esports versus FlyQuest. The last chance for an LEC representative to make it to the semi-finals. Team Liquid already there for the LCS. FlyQuest would love to join them, though. We'll see whether it is going to be the first region eliminated from EWC. A lot on the line. Doubled prize money just for winning this.
Just for one.
Doubled prize money. And you also don't have to hand your key over, which we have seen just be devastating.
It's tragic
for everyone. And it's so public. It's right up there on the stage as well. Oh, man, it just looks really, really rough. So I imagine that's what most teams are dreading.
That's one of the big things that you're going to be looking at. And you know that if FlyQuest does win this, they're going to be picking that G2 key to put in their own trophy at the end of everything. Yeah. It's just the kind of rivalry that you will have for years and years. But FlyQuest not going to be able to get anything done. And I love the fact that Yike already walked in just to say, hey, what's going on over here? Is there any opportunity for me to do something a little bit cheeky? No, FlyQuest, you're doing a good job crossing your T's and dotting your I's, but Broken Blade, well, let's get some vision down so they know where Inspired will be pathing.
Yep. Able to get in there, of course, get a little bit of information. Broken Blade able to get that ward on the Krugs as Caps just doing that Corki into Tristana thing. Now, I haven't seen this matchup for a really long time. Joshi, can you let me know how it got? No, we don't need to worry about it.
We've seen this a little bit. It's
We've seen it
new Azir Corki
all the time. Yeah. The new Azir Corki. Oh, God. I'm so worried. Of course, that's another one that Caps is still playing, as we have a bit of Biffo here towards the bottom side. Not too much to worry about, as I'm interested to see what FlyQuest can actually get done here. I think he can do a lot as the Ezreal and Leona in this lane. But I think if Hans Sama and Mickey X really start landing these Winter's Bites and the Braum can play aggressively, it can be a little bit dangerous down there with all of the range of a Caitlyn. And of course, control of the lane is what she's all about. See how it does go, because we haven't really seen Caitlyn just yet here at EWC. And it was the last champion that Hans Sama played, so of course, feeling pretty confident.
Yeah. We're already getting a little bit of a scuffle, but I'm mostly just curious to see where the Inspire's going to go. Caps taking a lot of damage there from one of the new players coming out for FlyQuest. I mean, this is one of the opportunities that Quad does have this matchup, even though it's fairly stable most of the time. If one of these two mid laners does get a big advantage in the laning phase, it can translate to a very different play across the rest of the board. And one of the things that we do know about Quad is he does a lot of damage. We're talking about the Cassiopeia that he was known for before. This is another opportunity for him to just pump out the deeps.
I mean, Cassiopeia is basically an 80 carry that does magic damage, let's be honest.
Yep.
You just press a different button in order to do it. Is okay. Boostio already taking a lot of damage. Yike coming in, and that is going to be first blood already at 3 minutes into the game. Yike going to collect it, and G2 on the board.
Saving grace that it is going to be going over towards the Ivern. Not going to be the same kind of damage output, but hey, you can do more damage if you just don't die, and Yike is going to be doing that for the rest of his team. And Inspired not able to build up a CS advantage at all. Now, he's going to have to be worried about where he can even go on the map. He's not going to be able to do his bottom side scuttle crab because of all the pressure that's coming in. He will be able to at least get it on the top side. And so, with Yike already getting this first gank off, that is a great play coming through for the side of G2, putting some pressure on the bottom lane where we know this is going to be one of the toughest places for FlyQuest to play from.
Yeah, having a look at this replay, just not a whole lot of options here for Boostio, who does try to at least taxi his way out, but it just doesn't work.
Yeah, I was wondering if he was going to flash at all, but I always love seeing players just hold those. I was like, yeah, you know, I could try and do something weird.
Yeah, he was real dead.
Very, very dead. It's still going to be a spot where they're going to be pushed in quite a bit, but Yike looking to make another play up on the top side.
This is a very actively ganking Ivern, I tell you that. As Whippo, not a whole lot of mana, does have his flash available, and does have the opportunity to grab that shield as well, so it is a little bit of a dangerous dive, especially with Broken Blade, not with a whole lot of the blue stuff. So it's going to take a drink, see whether they can still set up for it. And you can see Yike pretty keen for this crash to come on in. And Whippo is really keen to just not let those minions approach the turret. As Inspired comes on over, Trigger Seed is going to stun him up. Gives him the good old okay, as one more time, action here towards the bottom side. Not able to stack up that passive. Finally, the concussive blows does come in. As Boostio down to 50%, but it's a lot of damage being offered back here by Marcio. Oh no, Boostio, he'll have to flash this time around, and he at least isn't going to die, but that is a big cooldown. Marcio still staying on that front foot, and I think really saved that play.
Really needs to be very aggressive there. They need to get this wave underneath the turret in order to allow themselves time to back. They know that Yike is on the other side of the map, but he's moving towards the bottom side very quickly. You do not want to get caught here for too long. You can't afford to give Hansama this incredibly long freeze. And Inspired, he will at least spot out Yike, so the bottom lane of FlyQuest knows they have the time, they get in, and at least save will look like a very dire situation.
Yeah, it was a little bit rough. Inspired going to be able to come over and grab this Rift Scuttler though, so is going to stay ahead as far as that farm is concerned. Of course, just an extraordinarily fast jungle clearer versus the Ivern, who is at the mercy of the passive just a little bit there. So it's understandable that the brand is going to be cutting these ones down. Still, Ivern having so much of an impact in this early stage really does not bode so well for the LCS as times go on. As Cap's going to catch this wave as it moves in. Boostio having a little bit of a roam towards our first grubs that are coming down. And this might actually be a little bit of a skirmish. You can see Yike coming up. Quad going to dive in on top of Caps here as well. Does get the Buster Shot out just to try and get some sticky damage. As Winter's Bite not going to find the mark. Mickey X just going to punch a minion in frustration.
Good up there.
Yeah, and here on this top side of the map, Boostio going to be able to grab a stun. Gets the flash out from Yike as well. Definitely not wanting to stick around. It looks like Inspired should be able to grab these grubs. There's the second one as well. Whippo coming down, utilizing that lane control that he's picked up, and that's all three. Can they find a team fight as well? Those rocket jump in. Quad is going crazy. And Caps trying to get himself out of that. Impale very close, but not quite close enough. The strides on Yike able to get him out of there.
A very confused set of battle lines coming out for both sides of the fight. It looked like GT was a little bit more coordinated at first, but FlyQuest just had the damage. They had the clear speed coming out from Inspired to make sure that they get every single one of those grubs. No one ends up dying and all of that, but that's not from a lack of trying. Quad is still looking for more opportunities, and Boostio not able to find any opportunities for him.
I do like a man who executes on Hex flashes a lot, though.
Yes.
And Boostio just coming in, trying to get what he can, and Caps catching waves. You can see it's actually more than a wave in the lead is Quad. It's going to be not quite that, as this wave is going to get cleared up by Caps, but still will have an advantage And having that lane control going to be important there as well. So shout-outs to the newest addition to FlyQuest. We'll have a look at this fight one more time.
Yeah, we see Quad jumping right on in. Bwipo tries to catch Mickey X, and if Mickey doesn't flash her, it's probably lights out. But Bwipo also committing the flash to try and find the impale onto anyone, but not going to be finding anything at all. Just both sides just playing on the edge of what is possible. And now Inspired does get spotted out. Is level 6, will do a lot of damage to Broken Blade if he does choose to throw it. But it looks like he's just trying to buy a bit more time for Bwipo to re-establish control over the lane state.
Yeah, just going to be getting rid of these minions. And Inspired being frustrating, but otherwise not too much is going to happen there. So just going to get Bwipo a decent back timer. And there's a cask, actually, as Bwipo's in a bit of trouble. Going to be able to get himself out of there, but I think message received.
Yeah, and Moss is receiving a message on the bottom side as well, as G2 potentially setting up for a dive. Busio is entirely under tower.
Yeah, decent amount of information here for FlyQuest, but information doesn't mean a whole lot when there's not very many people that can come down and help out. Quad's trying to get down there. We'll just have to see. Minions are going to dissipate. That means FlyQuest have an opportunity now to go back home. And yes, G2 have picked up first blood, but here could be another opportunity for FlyQuest as Caps trying to get himself out of there. The Q going to miss that from Inspired. And the burn is going to come in and Brand is on the board. 1-1 now as Fly even the score.
I thought for sure that Caps was going to be walking out of that one, but Inspired just gets that little bit of extra damage. The Blackfire Torch or the Ashes just there in order to get that little bit of extra. The fact that Caps only got hit by one instance of the ult from Inspired, I thought that was going to be enough to walk him out, but we're seeing that FlyQuest looking to try and make this happen again and again. They've gone mid lane so many times. We've seen Busio here twice. We've seen Inspired come a couple of times, and Quad instantly just jumping in and shoving Caps right on over towards his teammate is a fantastic look for them, knowing that you can hold the stun as well to see if you can get Caps into a position where you are going to be hitting the stun anyway. Great play overall from FlyQuest. And
committed to death as well is what it kind of feels like. You know, that was the last instance of damage that we really saw, and that's got to hurt. But I do want to shout out to Caps because he is getting the Faker treatment here in the mid lane. Everyone just piling on in there, realizing that you have to take down the main man. And we'll see whether Caps can get himself back on the horse, because of course it hasn't really affected the CS or anything like that. It hasn't affected too much about how the game state has been, but giving Quad that assist, giving Inspired all of that gold from the kill. He's got his Leandries now picked up, and we know that Brand is nothing if he doesn't do damage. As now Masu in so much trouble, not going to be stepping on the snap trap though. That was so important. If that headshot had to come through, I think he might have just died right there on the spot. Does of course have the barrier available, or just available now, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
could have just been taken out.
That would have been a very likely death, but now Inspired coming down towards the bottom side of the map has the flash, and Mickey going for a roam up.
All right, Pillar of Flame going to come through, but Mickey not going to die to it.
I really want to see Inspired go back towards the top side. We have another set of grubs spawning, but Mickey, not out of the woods yet.
No, puts up the door. Masu not going to be killing him with a Mystic Shot or anything like that right now. Looks like it's just going to be a Dragon consideration, as Bwipo doing a fair bit of work up here. Last time we checked in, the Gragas was doing a great job, as G2 looking to even the score when it comes to these grubs in response to the first Dragon of the game. And FlyQuest actually with a fair bit of control as far as picking up these neutrals and staying in it as far as the tempo of the game is concerned. I think a lot of that has to do with Quad actually standing his ground beautifully here on this Tristana into Corki in the mid lane. So Yike going to come on over and does clear this one out. Caps, Phosphorus Bomb, will he be able to stop this? And he is. Stop.
Yeah, one of the big things that we've been seeing from Quad is he's always been a very strong laner. He really likes pushing the edge of what is possible, and every time that we have seen him so far, and with the amount of help that FlyQuest has put into him, it's not a big surprise he has a small lead coming out over Caps. The big question will be, what does he actually do with that lead? And I think that picking up this dragon, the fact that it's a Cloud Dragon, will help out quite a bit for the two FlyQuest marksmen that are being played, because there is a lot of damage coming out from the G2 backline. Caps and Hansama have so many tools to be aggressive, and it's all about moving in and trying to find that very small range where you are able to auto-attack and your opponents are not going to be able to. And that becomes so much easier for the FlyQuest backline when they have that bit of extra space.
Yeah, the thing that I'm a little bit worried about for FlyQuest, though, is all of these Ivern compositions really feel like they come online when it's about team fights, when it's about that 5v5 and the setup towards these neutrals. And G2 right now on very even footing, and in fact, in the lead slightly. moving towards the mid game. I think that FlyQuest need to try and make this a little bit more messy. You know, try and get what they can before G2 can set up the phalanx and really start to play the game the way they want. Of course, a very clear identity. Is Quad going to come in? And he was listening. Yeah. Wants to try and get something done.
It definitely feels like a very vegan version of Brand, right? We know that this is a very fast-running jungler. We know that you are super good at clearing all these camps, but it's not necessarily about being a PvE game. This is the kind of game where you do need to take control because of how strong the composition from G2 will be scaling off into the game, and also how much damage you are going to be losing from the top side with this current version of Skarner having lost a third of the damage on its Q. But FlyQuest still looking for more of these opportunities to, like you said, muddy the waters a little bit, and I'm hoping we're going to see an opportunity for them to do that around that Herald that's spawning in the mid.
Yep. Quad going to be doing a bit of damage here. Blade of the Ruin King now online. A unique item choice. Haven't really seen that one too much for the Tristana. Allows you to do a little bit more battle, though, as Busio really wishes that that Zenith Blade was a little bit longer, like a Teemo or two, perhaps. As Inspired, going to be stealing from Yikes Basketball Court. Not super great. Not really very fair. But it is still going to be those Raptors taken down, and the Brand doing exactly what it says on the tin. Currently about 30 CS in the lead over Yike, as Quad rocket jumping forward, as he loves to do. Yep. Caps grabbing that little shield as Yike going to be moving towards the enemy jungle, which, as we can see, is very barren.
There's nothing there. It's not even a Baron just quite yet.
I know, it hasn't even spawned. It's still quite some time.
That's been a very slow Esports World Cup, I feel like. A lot of these teams playing a very slow style. We know that Gen
Did you choose not to watch the second series yesterday?
Yeah, that is fair. But this is definitely one right now where G2 Esports are going to be the ones starting up the Herald, and it doesn't look like there's going to be any response whatsoever from FlyQuest. This was the perfect opportunity for them to dirty the waters, get a couple of those kills, get a couple of those opportunities for team fight, but none of that's going to be coming through. And the big thing you always got to ask is when one team gets an objective, what is the other team doing with the time? And unfortunately, G2 seem like they're doing the exact opposite of what Fnatic did against Team Liquid. They are the ones who are getting objectives for free this time around, and they're going to be scaling into a perfect set of games later on. They have the tools to be very aggressive in the side lanes later.
Yeah, speaking of very aggressive, Cap's just going to wander past the minion wave, and Masu is going to have to get the heck out of there. Really just a show of force from the mid laner from G2. FlyQuest not wanting to accept it, though. They will bring everyone up here and look to try and start a fight, but like you say, just a little bit too late, right? The Rift Herald already taken down, and they can use that to try and guarantee themselves this next Dragon, which will even the score as far as that is concerned. I think there's a decent game plan in the early stages from FlyQuest, but they have slowed down on that proactivity, which we want to see a little bit more of. Still, damage potential is absolutely massive out of both teams, to be perfectly honest, especially with the fact that Broken Blade is building more of that AP rather than the full tank Gragas. When I see full tank Gragas, I just get sad, man.
Oh, yeah. Oh?
It's all right. Not going to be Bwipo finding that Impale.
Impale is so much slower now than it used to be. You know, the instant was so good, but looking for a Broken Blade?
Yeah, Pillar of Flame coming on through, gets the passive. That is a lot of damage. Like, Brand just does so much damage. It is really silly.
One rotation and one item, Broken Blade taking a ton of damage, and I really want to see that come to fruition. We have another dragon spawning here very shortly. It's an Infernal Dragon, meaning we are not going to get yet another Infernal Soul in this game. Like, we got 4 out of 5 on day one.
I know, it was
Infernal
insane.
Souls. I thought it had something to do with the heat, but I guess it is a little cooler today here in Riyadh than it was before. But now, FlyQuest, they're going to be looking towards the dragon, but G2 on the other side, turns out it takes 2 to tango. You can't just fight yourself.
True. And it's going to be spawning now. We have the Rift Herald spawning in the river, just back where she belongs. It's actually really cute. And she's going to run from home and try to take down this outer turret. That should be a thing, but FlyQuest are going to be able to trade it for this dragon. And the extra gold for G2, I think they're going to be very, very happy with, right? Being able to build up a bit of tempo here at this stage feels great for the composition that just wants to scale later. Of course, Caitlyn, 3 items is really what you want to get to, of course. With the item changes, I feel like Collector IE feels like a good 2-item spike, but you kind of want a little bit more than that. And the Power Trough will definitely be in there. Of course, bridged by Caps, who's just completed the Trinity Force.
We'll see how much that actually means for these two teams, right? If you're not fighting, it doesn't exactly matter what items you're on, and this is going to be one of the things that we have seen sometimes FlyQuest struggle with a little bit. They're not necessarily the team that is playing around the side lanes nearly as much as a lot of other teams. They haven't necessarily been opting into as many hands checks as teams like Team Liquid have. And now G2, I mean, they're the ones who are actually creating pressure in this side of the map. They have the very strong core key, but they don't know how many FlyQuest members are actually here.
Yeah, there is a sneaky little Mario, and there he comes. Quad diving on out. Cap's taking a lot of damage,
Ooh.
and there is the Tristana sec. Quad going to be able to lock down that kill there as well. 1-0-1 for the Tristana. As Broken Blade, he was actually trying to go for a counter play off the back end with the teleport, and unfortunately lost his mid laner a little bit too fast. Masu in this mid lane, trying to deal with G2, looking to make a cross map. And it might still be possible. The slow not actually going to land on a Mickey X, though, as he finds the Glacial Fissure. And FlyQuest kind of thought they had an opportunity, but Inspire goes down before he can really do anything at all. And now G2 are trying to dive on in. The Impale is decent, but the Body Slam is better. And now the Teleport's coming in once again. Quad finally in the battle as Whippo diving for Barrage, cuts them all down, and they don't even need the brand to do the AoE because Quad and Masu are going bananas here in the mid lane. Cap's finally respawning though, and can he do enough to try and get this one back as Yike is there to support him? What a bloodbath. It was so incredibly slow until everything happened.
Yeah, that is exactly what we're looking at. That was the dirtying of the waters we've been looking for from FlyQuest for such a long time, but now Caps, he's got so much strength. He's got Yike right behind him, and will look like a fantastic series of plays.
Again. Yeah, Quad diving on forward. Yike able to keep him shielded up, and Caps is just fine. And so G2 able to really stand their ground, even though they lose Caps towards the top side. I think because Quad took so long to get there, it was a bit of a disaster as we check out the replay.
Yeah, Inspire being pushed away from this fight almost immediately and dying. Yes, he gets the ult off, but 2 or 3 of those bounces end up hitting Daisy and minions. They don't do what they need to. And then, like you said, it's all about the Body Slam and the Impale. Broken Blade and G2 now on the run, and Quad coming through. Whippo flashing forward. Just needs to get that little bit of damage as the True Shot Barrage goes across, hits the entire team. I'm a little bit surprised Quad did not live up to his name and get even more kills off of that one, but Caps still ends up making an even fight, and that means we got 2 minutes left until the Ocean Dragon is going to be spawning, and that's kind of where I'm expecting FlyQuest to take another opportunity for a fight.
Well, Whippo, he's going to be driving towards Caps here, does get the Valkyrie out as there's the Solar Flare, stuns up the Corki. There's not a lot of damage, but I guess there is enough as Whippo locks it down. Masu able to dodge the Winter's Bite there as well as he just throws it all into the door. You love to see it, just break it down. If it's in front of you, hit it, and he's going to do so. FlyQuest really not giving up at all in this mid-game. They're putting on so much pressure. And Inspired, the more they're doing this, the more dangerous he gets. Look at this brand damage. It is absolutely ridiculous. True Shot Barrage doesn't quite find the mark, though, as Quad
are just
shooting against Broken Blade. Yeah, over and over again. They're just not quite able to answer. As Quad, he's going to say, yeah, you're going to push me away, I'll jump forward. Is now just looking for Broken Blade here. Redemption going to be able to keep him up, and the threat of having an extra person up there means that he doesn't overextend. I kind of felt like Quad could have killed him, but maybe he's just being merciful. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of thing. You got to show some mercy when you're starting to just win across the board. We are seeing that Whippo with that plate on the bottom side, Quad with jumping onto Broken Blade on the top side just means that the side lanes are suddenly going very well for Fly, because we also have the Thimble Winter being completed here for Whippo, which is a massive durability increase that's coming in at exactly the right time. 30 seconds until this Ocean Dragon. I know Ocean Soul isn't the most exciting soul of all time, but if you're playing up against a composition like G2s that love taking these slow fights with the Ivern, Ocean Soul is going to be one of the best you could ask for.
Absolutely. 2 items now completed here for Quad as well. He's feeling extremely strong. Masu just completes the Muramana as well. That is a gigantic spike for this Ezreal that was already playing so aggressively here in these fights. Looking forward to seeing what more he can actually do here as Santa Claus is going to be teleporting his way into the mid lane and immediately picks up a True Shot Barrage. I think that earns you a spot on the naughty list there, Masu. As now Whippo getting pushed away from the Banana Brush, but they still do have that ward in there. In fact, everyone with vision available. Quad moving on up, and with all of these extra brushes, it is a dangerous time here for G2. They're trying to set themselves up, though. They've got their brushes down. As Mickey X moving forward, the Impale is going to pull him out. That is going to be the Dragon picked up by G2, but can they keep themselves alive as the Redemption comes through? But it's a little too late, and they lose their support. Mickey's on the floor, and FlyQuest, yes, they lose the Dragon. They don't get to that soul point, but still feeling really good about how these fights are going.
we're seeing that G2 not able to do the same thing that top esports are doing with just pushing their opponents around. They end up getting the dragon, but because they end up taking so much damage on their way in, it's not going to be giving them the same kind of teamfight advantages as we saw from top esports earlier. And FlyQuest right now is taking a look at this. They come in from a lot of different angles, and it didn't seem as though either team was ready to full commit for the fight. I was wondering what Whipple was going to do, but he ends up just grabbing one player. He grabs Mickey, they are able to kill him, but it still takes them so long to take them down because there's not a whole lot of other follow-up after that. Bucio not able to find a big solar flare to allow FlyQuest to drop
hit
off.
2 people with that solar flare. It was actually so sick in that fight.
But it's just too far.
Yeah, no, and not able to get any more. But like, I mean, you'll take that, right? Being able to get that kill and being able to get control back of the map. I feel like this is not the FlyQuest I was expecting. I was expecting G2 to come out with a creative draft and then really just kind of go Harlem Globetrotters. That is not what's happening here. And FlyQuest really able to hold their own. Yeah. As I say that, of course, Masu takes a headshot to the face, and as headshots generally do get aimed. And that is looking dangerous. And that is that 2-item spike that we were talking about. One thing that we need to mention is the fact that FlyQuest really had an advantage. Oh, never mind. Masu tries to get out, and he's not going to be able to. The shutdown comes through. Inspired has to flash, and the outer turret is going to be taken. And in an instant, G2 just say, no, we have the control. Never you mind.
We got surprised about that just the same way that Masu did. I had no idea that Broken Blade was there. They get the kill. I was just about to launch into tirade talking about how well Masu was actually playing all these fights, getting those 3 kills. When Broken Blade shuts him down, they find a bunch of kills. They find some more going over on top.
Speaking of which, finds the double body slam. Quad able to get himself out of there, but the door is in position, and the flank angle from Caps is crazy. Still decent position for Quad, but they find him. Body slam comes through once again, and the shutdown comes in from the mid laner from G2. Whippo's out of there. There's the double kill for Caps, and all of a sudden, everything's on fire.
And the flanks from Broken Blade are going crazy. That's another opportunity to get everything coming through. G2 have such a good understanding of how to get these fights started from multiple angles, and now Masu is still coming around to see if he can try and poke people off, but he's got to deal with so much. There's a mid lane turret that they could potentially get, but G2 taking the fights that we saw earlier, turning them on their head. Now they're going to be getting the Baron. Now they're going to be taking control of the map, and this might be the Harlem Globetrotting that we were looking at.
Yeah, this is a huge swing for G2. They are going to be able to take this one down. The Baron will be taken with 0 casualties here, as well as that ward will be taken down. FlyQuest not able to find anything, I don't think, off the back end of this one. The Empowered Recall is going to be helping out, and at least they do manage to get this outer turret. Okay, Whippo is taking matters into his own hands, but I don't know whether it's a great idea. Knocked up by the Glacial Fissure and then knocked down by Hans Sama. So maybe a little bit of a miscommunication there.
Yeah.
Stopping the backs to make sure that at least the outer turret goes down in mid or something like that. So we're going to check out this fight one more time.
Broken Blade is coming over from a wall, and Caps coming from the backside. I love the fact that Caps takes the ultimate from Inspired and then uses the Valkyrie to make sure it doesn't get multiple bounces that could have taken down the Corki relatively quickly, but immediately FlyQuest is already routed. Inspired just had to turn around. Now they're looking for Broken Blade.
Yeah, that's a party cask there, as Broken Blade should be going down here. Quad able to lock that one up and had the explosive charge there. So FlyQuest able to get something back, and that might stop that Red Bull Brown power play, or the lack thereof, from being picked up here. So 1,000 gold is not as much as what you get just from killing it.
Yeah, that is a very big pick coming through for FlyQuest, and hopefully they can see if they can do even more of that. They do have a man advantage. Whippo does have the teleport, but that seems to have been the thing that G2 was doing so well before. When I saw Whippo running into 4 members there, it's like, yeah, I know you've been looking to be as wide as possible. You are a very big tank on this one, but unfortunately doesn't have the same kind of damage as we were looking at before. 30 seconds left, though, before we get another dragon. And now FlyQuest, yeah, I mean, Broken Blade, just wrong place, wrong time. Cass not going to take anything. Going to be sharing some gold and a bunch of members. And FlyQuest, easy money.
Yeah. Not exactly psyched about it is Broken Blade, but still with a fair bit of extra money. And as you can see, able to take down this outer turret towards the bottom side of the map. FlyQuest, let's see what they can actually do, because they've got Quad in the mid lane, getting some work done. Whippo in the top side. And this Baron buff is being used to take down 1 turret with all 4 members that are here. The Gragas moving towards the mid lane to try and stop Quad. But if FlyQuest are able to get more, then it should be okay. But if they lose an inhibitor, it's probably not.
Interesting.
So we're going to be trading for the Dragon, and And FlyQuest, your base is now exposed.
Yeah.
So one inhibitor, not end of the world, I guess, but if they lose a Nexus turret, it's really, really bad.
Here comes the teleports coming through from FlyQuest. They will get the Ocean Soul point, but they're not going to be finding a fight here at all. They do end up defending their Nexus turrets, but feels like a very brinksmanship kind of way of playing League of Legends. We'll do everything else. We get exactly what we came for, but losing an inhibitor feels like a much larger price, especially because they didn't get either the inner turrets in the mid lane or the top lane. FlyQuest, though.
Solar Flare going to connect onto the Ivern. Not exactly the greatest of prizes, but they'll take whatever they can get at this point in time. Quad on a flank angle, but Caps is right there to try and get him out. The Glacial Fissure is going to connect only onto Bwipo, who's happy to tank it, and Quad cut down to half health, but still able to get that disengage. And the Baron wears off, and in the end, did actually net G2 a whole bunch of gold. And so, moving back towards this mid lane with a whole bunch of extra control, G2 in the driver's seat.
G2 in the driver's seat. We also saw that FlyQuest, one of the big things that I was looking at before is the difficulty that we were going to see Inspired have actually piloting this brand, because Braum is always there, because Ivern is always there. So much of the brand damage is mitigated. We actually saw that the ultimate from Inspired did go directly into the Unbreakable and would have gotten so much damage across all of those grouped up G2 members, but not going to be able to do that at all. Instead, we're going to have to be looking at the next couple of objectives here, Alice. 2 minutes next until the Baron buff will be spawning. 3 minutes until the Ocean Soul will be spawning. G2, they have a pretty big gold lead, but it's not going to be enough because, or it's not going to necessarily be enough to push them over the edge just quite yet. It's going to mostly depend on whether or not they can find another good flank from Broken Blade.
Yeah, the thing that I'm worried about, though, for FlyQuest is the fact that as soon as G2 has control of the map, this Ivern can get to work, right? You can set up all of these brushes. You can make Hans Sama have all of these positions to place down the traps. And if it's you that are setting up for this Baron that's going to be spawning in a minute and a half, they not only have so much damage for it, but they can also set up so many traps to stop FlyQuest from being able to get on in. So I'm a little bit worried, and hopefully FlyQuest have a plan to trying to combat that, because they're the ones with the soul point. They theoretically have a slight tempo advantage when it comes to the neutrals. It's just getting themselves into a position to utilize it that is important.
One of the things I do find very fascinating is that Masu often go for the Spear of Shojin here as his third item, as opposed to a Bloodthirster, which has been becoming much more popular, especially in these kind of games where you are going to be outranged by the Caitlyn, outranged by the Corki Rockets, and you really have to be very careful about your positioning. You get a lot more freedom when you just have that little bit of extra lifesteal to keep yourself topped off. Now, FlyQuest is saying that, Masu, we believe in you. You are going to be doing all the damage that we need you to, but it also means he has to be very careful with his positioning. He does have all the summoners up, and with 40 seconds left until the Baron, we have not yet seen G2 set up. They do not have the Ivern in those positions that we were talking about, where they would just get all the vision control they could imagine.
Well, they're going to be setting up for it now. 30 seconds on this Baron. It's a little bit dark out there, as we can see. Mikiak slightly separated, and Bwipo on a beautiful flank angle. Solar Flare going to immediately be cleansed, but that is now on cooldown. Oh, the Impale goes absolutely nowhere, and the door is fantastic. Bwipo having to flash away as Caps back into the fight one more time. True Shot Barrage doing deadly damage, actually, as FlyQuest, they slink back into the fog of war, and they have control of the river for now, with Broken Blade at least very, very healthy moving up this mid lane. And they have to protect their base. I don't think they can give away 2 inhibitors in trade for a neutral, Joshi. I just don't think that is the right play.
This is definitely the spot where we see FlyQuest. They are trying to get every single one. They do end up getting the red buff, but they're going to be giving a mid lane turret for it.
Well, Quad is now back, so maybe FlyQuest are happy to fight as Inspired, looking to try and set up. Great Cask is going to connect, but Inspired flashes away. True Shot Barrage finds Hans Sama on that backline, but he's very safe. Masu, though, he gets on in there. Hans Sama is in so much trouble, but he survived. Oh, there it is. It's Bwipo that locks it down, and FlyQuest are finding the team fight they've been looking for. Yike now getting chased down by the lawnmower, and will have to flash to get on over. He escapes, but could this be FlyQuest now setting up for a Baron themselves? Or do they have to go back and protect their base? Or are they going to try and win the game? There are a lot of different options here.
They're trying to everything. They're looking for Caps on the top side right now. Cap's going to be blowing up, and he's going to be away from the base.
He finds so much time, but Quad is at least able to take down the inhibitor in the mid lane, and that is a staggering of the backs there as well, with Caps going down so late.
And with the Baron buff and the Ocean Soul all spawning at the same time, FlyQuest have so many options they can go for. for. They are going to be choosing to go for the Baron first. Whipple comes over the wall. They do got to send somebody back. They can't afford to lose another Nexus turret. But FlyQuest finds such a huge fight, and Mazu's going to get himself out.
Yeah, okay, that was a little bit scary for a second there. And then it was an Ivern and a Braum. So we weren't going to see a death or anything like that, as the Baron will be taken down. The Ocean Drake is up and available. Now, FlyQuest don't necessarily need to care too much about it, right? Because it's only giving away a second Ocean Drake to G2. I think the Baron, very important. And also, having the minions not destroy your Nexus is also somewhat important if they do want to win this game.
Yeah, a little bit surprised though. I feel as though they could have gotten both of those things with Cap still dead. True Shot Barrage not going to be getting the Miracle Steal, but you have to be very happy as an NA fan. I'm very happy as an NA fan, as FlyQuest already looking to potentially get another upset on the day. The first game looking to be in their control for now. They just opened up the mid lane inhibitor for G2. They have a number of inner turrets that they are able to go for as well. And Quad and Masu, they've been having fantastic positioning in every single one of these team fights so far. They're creating so much space, and as we saw, as soon as they were able to free fire into Mickey X, he went down very quickly. The rest of the fight ends up going completely their way. We'll take another look at this, and the big thing here is watch how Mazu and Quad, they're creating an opportunity to try and start shooting, but it takes them a long time to actually get their damage in. And finally, when Hansama starts having to deal with the rest of the FlyQuest team, that's when they make their move. They come and they get the damage down, and then they're able to chase Dyke and Caps.
We got another team fight, another Impale going wide. There's a Glacial Fissure somehow avoided. That was Narrow Whippo right there.
Narrow Whippo.
Kind of thought that, I don't know, I guess he shrunk the hitbox. A man that has that much control of his size, I guess, is just able to do so. And he's able to just lawnmower his way out of there. G2 now with Daisy by their side as well. An unfair 6 versus 5 at this point. FlyQuest, 2,000 gold on the Baron buff as well. So looking pretty good. Yeah, also having a bit of a lead, which is not something I'd be expecting. It wasn't on my bingo card for game 1 of G2 versus FlyQuest here at 35 minutes.
However, all that said, they only were able to get the top lane inner turret. It's not going to be the biggest win coming off of this Baron buff, but now they still have about a minute left. They're grouping up. They have Inspired down in the bottom side to make sure they can push that out, but this is an opportunity potentially for G2 to go for a 5v4 before Inspired can actually rejoin them. They know exactly where he is. They know he's not there, and FlyQuest not able to get enough of a push going off of that. And so it is a Baron buff win. They do have a small lead, but it looks like we're going to be spending a little bit more time thinking about how this Ocean Soul is going to be going in 3 minutes.
Exactly. Setup right now has Whippo on this slight flank angle. Masu and Inspired looking a little bit delicious in the mid lane, but I assume G2 understands that there is something up. Busia off on the side. Going to be able to find anything here. So this control ward just going to be taken down, and G2 looking to get control of the top side of the river. And Baron control certainly going to be there with control wards aplenty. Now just making sure that they can have the Ivern positioning. Just put Hansama in a brush, make something happen, and look at that damage. As Hansama gets more and more items, that's 4 now completed. It's going to be very, very difficult. FlyQuest is going to have to make sure that this Caitlyn has a whole lot of trouble doing damage. As Broken Blade getting chunked. Remember, this is not a tanky Greg. This is about a cosmic drive. As, yeah, Quad is just playing the PvE game here on the bottom side of the map. Inner turret will be taken down, and G2, I think they're going to have to start protecting their base. There's the teleport to come on through as True Shot Barrage. Not going to be stopping that one anytime soon. Still, Caps gets back. He'll thin out that wave, but it buys so much space here for FlyQuest to play with.
Really good stuff coming out from FlyQuest. You saw that Inspired and Manzu over the wall, just doing the damage necessary to dissuade Broken Blade from any kind of play whatsoever. That stops the push entirely from G2, and because Quad down there in the bottom lane the entire time just gets a free turret, that's 700 gold, that's 2 kills that effectively go into Quad's pocket right there, and we're very rapidly approaching full builds for multiple members. Caps already has 4+ boots, and then another half on top of it. Hansama in exactly the same position. Masu very close behind, and Quad, I mean, as soon as he has an opportunity to back away and spend all this gold, we're going to be getting every single one of our marksmen on 4.5 items, which means that these fights are going to be incredibly bloody.
Oh, yeah. I feel like there is a... It's actually completely... I was about to say, with Broken Blade building damage, they'll have more, but they've got an Ivern in the jungle, and there is a Brand on the other side. So, as far as damage is concerned, there is a whole lot coming out of everyone on both sides. And we'll just have to see who's going to be able to find the team fight they're looking for. It could be over in the blink of an eye if a few of these headshots do land as Guipo keeps that health bar high. Ace in the hole. Oh, Masu did not want to tank that one. Thankfully, does have that Bloodthirster now completed, so can get a bit of that health bar back. But you can see pushing them out. And Mickey X finds the Glacial Fissure, puts up the door as the Impale comes in. Solar Flare is fantastic. And Mickey is just cut down, and now FlyQuest are flashing forward the explosion as Quad is going to be taken down on the back end, but they'll trade that for Caps. And Masu is still up. Hansama is surrounded, finds the net. It was decent, but they didn't kill the Ezreal. A triple kill for the young man from FlyQuest. And they might just walk down the mid lane and win game one.
And Masu, the rookie, like you said, coming up huge. We said that he was going to have trouble trying to navigate his way in this game, and he is doing it magnificently. 7-1-5 coming out for the young rookie, and FlyQuest are going to be getting the first game over G2. This is not the way I think anybody was expecting today to go. We already got 2 games from Top Esports, and FlyQuest now in pole position to try and knock EU out of the tournament.
And someone's got to check the time zones or something like that, because Orcs yesterday said that it was no longer going to be the 4th of July, but I'm sensing the freedom as FlyQuest destroy the Nexus here in game one. Oh man, EWC definitely getting real spicy, but it's time for us to throw it to a short break. When we get back, the gentlemen at the studio are going to try and break that one down.